Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Uninvited Opinions. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at the 2020 IPL and we're going to analyze and share what we liked about the tournament, what we didn't like about the tournament, and at the end of it, we're going to give you our teams that Nags and I have personally handpicked and which we think will outsmart each other's teams. So, Nags, how have you coped with the last 3 days? Because we've had 50 days of non-stop cricket action, and then suddenly there's a vacuum.
Yes, the effect of the vacuum is probably just beginning to show now because I actually enjoyed the couple of days break in between. So it was non-stop cricket. It was watching and then our own recording chores. So it was a welcome break. But now I think I am now slowly hooking back to online news portals to see what are the happenings around the world of cricket now.
Well, yeah, I for one have been missing the action, and I've been in the afternoon looking at my TV and then realizing, okay, there's no sport going on today. So one of the things that we wanted to do today was, discuss what we liked about the tournament, what we think could have gone better. So, what do you want to discuss first?
First things first, the fact that we had a tournament in the first place in the time of this pandemic was absolutely rejoiced by everyone. We are grateful to the show put up by all the players, the administrators, and it was a wonderful spectacle for everyone to enjoy. The thing that we had anticipated, the fact that the tournament is now going to be held in the Middle East and how the pitches will play their part in the tournament. So that's exactly what would be my first point that I would like to highlight. It was more to do with pitches in the Middle East and how they'll be tiring very soon because they're going to be used over and over again, and it's going to be spin friendly, and all the spinners are going to come to the party in the second half of the tournament probably. But that was quite to the contrary. The groundsman actually put up great sporting wickets game after game. So there were big squares and lots of strips to be used. So there was perfect rotation of all those wickets. And the groundsman ensured that just when you thought that a certain wicket was beginning to tire, there'll be an entirely fresh wicket unveiled there with a tinge of grass. And so that meant that the cricket at all stages remained competitive and there was a nice balance between bat and ball. Another aspect coming again sticking to the venues was the fact that we were wondering how much of an impact dew was going to have on the outcome of the game, and that is exactly how the tournament began, with all the teams choosing to chase after winning the toss, anticipating the wicket to quicken up and hoping to cash in on the lack of gripping ability for the opposition spinners. But we just realized that the dew was playing kind of a hide and seek with everyone. It was there for us for a few games. It wasn't there. It was there more prominently seen in Sharjah than other venues. I remember the teams in Abu Dhabi would look up to the flags there in the open stands to see if there was any wind blowing, and if there was wind, there was going to be no dew. So there was a lot of off-field calculations taking place, which many a times the teams, with their decision at the toss, got the decision wrong, and there was almost a trend that at the beginning you almost saw teams always wanting to chase first, despite losing many a games. And then there was more of a game sense of sorts where the toss stopped being as influential in the results.
Yeah, I think of the venues, Sharjah was probably the most affected. You saw players perspiring a lot more at Sharjah in the early stages of the tournament, which affected especially the bowlers' ability to grip the ball, and in some cases probably also affected their catching abilities. And then, as you mentioned, dew also played a big role in Sharjah than the other grounds. There's not a lot of wind blowing through the stadium, so I think that's probably contributed a lot towards the conditions. But I quite enjoyed the pitches that were on offer. And in general it made for very good viewing. The next bit that I wanted to talk about was an increased focus on matchups in this year's tournament, and not something that I particularly agree with as a fan of the game. I always as someone who watches the game, I would think if someone is your best bowler, irrespective of whether he's an off spinner or a leg spinner, he would be able to deliver in that given situation. But clearly, that was not the thinking that a lot of the teams employed. So you observe that leg spinners very rarely bowl to left-handers. They were predominantly used against right-handers. The same with right-arm off-spinners. They were essentially used against left-handers rather than against other batsmen, rather than against right-handers. And you also saw one-on-one player matchup being playing an important role. For example, Kieron Pollard against AB de Villiers. In the game against RCB, where he came in, bowled a ranked, full toss and got him caught at, I think, deep square leg. So things like that. I think teams are playing a lot more attention to these kind of things, and it made for interesting viewing. Not something that I always agreed with, but that's probably the way the game is shifting. Especially in the T20 format.
Yeah, I totally agree to your views that I don't agree with how much importance they lend to this matchups. I remember the incidents where AB de Villiers was pushed down the order playing against the leggies, and RCB ended up promoting two of their lesser heralded left-handed batsmen ahead of AB de Villiers. So certain things just in the name of matchups just don't make cricketing sense. So much so that you actually had the quality of Rahul Chahar not feature in the finals for Mumbai, thinking that there were the Delhi lineup was loaded with left-handers. So if Rahul Chahar was your best bowler through the tournament, why would you want to tinker with that? But anyway, Mumbai didn't pay dearly for that. That's a different story.
What do you have next?
So another interesting observation was about the circumspect nature of some of the otherwise free-flowing, hard-hitting batsmen across the teams. So the classic example was KL Rahul. He obviously ended up winning the orange cap, but it was interesting to see not the dipping strike rate through the tournament, but through his innings across the games in the tournament. So he would have a flying start in the power plays, and then even the strike rate would be good even after power plays, but his strike rate would normally dip the moment he would lose his partner or two partners in quick succession. So that we saw the similar trend with David Warner in a few games, and more striking was the lack of freedom, or almost trying to play with shackles on, was the middle order of Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers through many games for RCB. So it meant that probably there was a lot of pressure that these players were putting upon themselves, trying to play for the team and not having enough faith in the lineup that was to follow. I kept speculating the same reason through the game analysis day after day, but it remains a secret. It remains a mystery. But it was a very peculiar trend that I saw across the teams.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, I think it wasn't. It almost felt that teams had identified specific batsmen who would play the anchor role, irrespective of whether whether they're better batsmen than that. And it almost felt that they were straitjacketed into those roles, and almost like you've got to bat 15 overs, and you'll have the other batsmen bat around you. I think the only team which probably didn't adopt this approach entirely was probably Mumbai Indians. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they had a lot more explosive starts than the other teams. So that's one for other teams to look at and maybe consider going into next year. You've got only 6 overs in the power play. You'd want to be as explosive as you can in those 6 overs and really take the advantage. The next bit that I want to talk about is something which was a trend which was set on early on in the tournament, which was the Tewatia Factor. In the game against Kings 11 Punjab, when everything seemed lost, both for him personally and for Rajasthan Royals, that innings he produced just sort of gave the confidence not only for Rajasthan but almost for every team in the tournament that there is no total which is too big. There's no total which cannot be chased down. And I think that even as viewers, actually, we started expecting that that teams, irrespective of how bad a situation it is, whether it's 80 required of the last 5 overs or 90 required of the last 5 overs, you almost started expecting, okay, if Tewatia can do it, everyone else can do it. So I think that was a big, a big boost, given that it happened so early on in the tournament.
I totally agree. I mean, the number of occasions that we have seen massive chunks of score being made in the last quarter of the innings both batting first and batting second, it almost makes me wonder why couldn't the teams have chosen to be a little more aggressive or a little more proactive in the earlier stages of the innings. But there is some amount of confidence that these players now come up with. They basically look at such situations as opportunities. It is setting a very a new trend of sorts in the modern day cricket. So no score is beyond chasing realms.
Absolutely. Now, I'm conscious of time, so going to give you one more point to talk about, and I think I can probably hazard a guess in terms of what you're going to talk about, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so we talked about how the wickets produced ensured that there was a good balance between the bat and the ball. The discipline that actually enjoyed this the most was the fast bowling. The kind of fast bowling that was on display through this tournament across teams is phenomenal. I mean, we actually had, I think, 3 or 4 bowlers who clocked regularly in excess of 150. If I can think of Jofra Archer, Andre Nokia, Lockie Ferguson, and some of the Indian quicks actually came close to breaching that 150 mark. Navdeep Saini, Jasprit Bumrah. So I think the raw pace through the air was enjoyed by these bowlers. Whether you were bowling that hard length or a back of a length at the start of the innings, or going quick through the air and going for that pinpoint Yorkers at the back end of the innings, it was a treat to watch. And to add to that, the subtle seam movement by the bowlers of the likes of Trent Bolt, who may not have the most express pace, but if the wicket was giving a little bit of assistance, those bowlers were pouncing on every bit of that opportunity. So the fast bowlers outsmarted the spinners in this tournament by a big margin. And I think it was great to see that fast bowlers are not always to be taken for granted and always won't be taken to the cleaners.
Absolutely. And I think for me, a couple of the most exhilarating passages of play during the tournament, when is a couple of the spells which were bowled by Jofra Archer early, right at the start of the innings. They were brilliant to watch. Test match line in length, not giving the batsmen any width, any room, bouncing them out was just exceptional. And then that passage of play when Andre Nokia went up against Steve Smith and Joss Butler in particular when Delhi played Rajasthan Royals at Dubai. Oh, that gave me goosebumps. It was just fantastic to watch. Butler not backing down, going after Nokia, but Nokia sticking to his guns and bowling. What was it, 156 to knock out Butler? Oof, fantastic, fantastic. Right. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you a couple of questions. Who was your pick for the emerging batsman of the tournament?
I would actually go ahead and name two of them, Devdutt Padikkal and Ruturaj Gaikwad. I so dearly hoped that we could have got to have seen little more of Ruturaj Gaikwad. He showed what his qualities are at the back end of the tournament, but earlier for the COVID recovery and also the issues with the team selections in Chennai, we didn't get to see enough of him. So he's someone who I feel is absolutely a talent to watch out for going forward. Devdutt Padikkal, what a find for RCB. I think he is only going to improve going forward. If at all people may have any complaints of him, would be his strike rate. But I think he is too young, too raw right now. He's just beginning to learn his trade. He's going to get past that hurdle as well very soon. And the likes of players that he has in his dressing room, he is going to have a lot to learn from. So two people to watch out for sure.
Nicholas Pooran, he certainly made the step up this tournament. He's not someone new, but he didn't have a lot of opportunities last season. This season, he really showed that he's someone who's to be feared for in that middle order. Emerging bowler of the tournament?
I would name again two people, Varun Chakravarthy from Kolkata Knight Riders and T. Natarajan for the Sunrisers Hyderabad. A spinner and a pace bowler, a breath of fresh air, both of them. We have discussed how Varun Chakravarthy has kind of modeled himself along the lines of Sunil Narayan. Similar action, mystery spinner of sorts, not much of emotions and reaction after being hit for a six or taking a wicket. He had great success. He actually had the best bowling figures in this tournament, taking a fifer. And T. Natarajan, what a revelation! India is going to hope that he is able to maintain the same rhythm and same consistency with which he can actually land those Yorkers. The best of the hitters found him tough to hit in the death overs. So he's certainly a find for India.
I couldn't have picked two better names. I would have gone with either of them. Fantastic year for both of them, and rightly rewarded by the Indian selectors with a place on that plane to Australia. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the batsmen of the tournament. I think for me, it was actually a very close call, and I still haven't decided. It's between Ishan Kishan and Surya Yadav. They were the bedrock of that Mumbai batting lineup, and I was just absolutely in awe of the batsmanship that they showed. Not just the skill, but also the hitting capability. So fantastic year for both of them.
I'll make it easy. If you are confused between the two of them, let's split the two. And we can say that if we are looking for a right-hander, we go for Sky. And if we are looking for a left-hander, we go for Ishan Kishan.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. I can live with that. And bowler of the tournament?
Oh, tough choice. But for me, it has to be Jofra Archer. At the top, in the power plays, didn't matter who were the batsmen at the other end. They all found it tough. He got the better of most of them, whether it was the pace through the air, bowling the tough length, beating the bat either edges, going through the gate, or bouncing them outright. My God, it was an absolute pleasure watching him, and I just hope that he found some support in that Rajasthan bowling unit at the top, and he actually ended up taking 50% of the wickets took by all of Rajasthan pace bowlers. And at an economy rate of less than 5 in the power plays, that is ridiculous. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I would have gone for Jofra Archer as well. Fantastic tournament, fantastic bowler. He's given us a lot of memorable moments in this tournament. And, you rightly pointed out, if there had been better support for him, Rajasthan would have made further progress in the tournament. Sadly, there wasn't. And, I think he was quite happy to go back home at the end of the league phase. He spent a lot of time in the bubble. So, good for him. Right. So now it's time to name your 11 of the tournament. Who do you have for us?
My team actually, I've tried to pick a member from all of the 8 playing teams. So I start with Ruturaj Gaikwad and David Warner as my openers. Gaikwad, with his quality, has basically kept me waiting for the next IPL already to see what he can offer. And Warner, for me, is almost like a Bradman of IPL. The consistency that he's shown over the years. At number 3, I go for Surya Yadav. As you said, the bedrock of Mumbai batting through this tournament. He has shown over the past 2-3 years what domestic experience can do, and he has, I think, the mettle to show his talent at any stage, at any platform. Then comes the flair bit in my batting lineup of Sanju Samson and Nicholas Pooran. So between the two, they actually were leading the 6 hitting charts for most of the tournament until the final stages. So you are going to have some treat coming your way in terms of the batsmanship on offer here. I wouldn't want to talk much about the consistency though. And then after that, the all-rounders slot for me is taken by Marcus Stoinis. He's had a phenomenal season with Delhi Capitals this year. He's actually time and again proven his worth with the ball, and he has the big hitting prowess undoubtedly. Followed by that, I go for the find of the tournament in my books, which is Rahul Tewatia. He is more than a useful leg spin bowler. With all his heroics with the bat, we often tend to forget how useful he's been for Rajasthan through this middle overs with his leg spin. And we are, of course, going to be wanting to have more of those heroics with the bat in the lower order. He's going to be followed by his Rajasthan Royals teammate, Jofra Archer. So he's going to be leading the pack with the ball and more than useful with his lusty blows down the order. Followed by Varun Chakravarthy. So you're going to have that mystery option in the spin bowling department. And the two Indian pacers, Navdeep Saini, how consistently he has actually grown in stature over the years for RCB, and our pick for the find emerging player of the tournament, T. Natarajan. So that will be my lineup.
And who's going to be a captain?
David Warner, undoubtedly.
All right. So I'm going to share my team of the tournament. There's some similarities, but not a lot actually. As you can see, I've stacked my side with Mumbai Indians players because for me, they were the team of the tournament champions and had some of the best performers. My opening combination is going to be David Warner and Shikhar Dhawan, followed by the Mumbai Indians middle order, more or less. So Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan, Hardik Pandya, and Kyron Pollard. And then I've got, we've got similarities in number 7 and number 8 because we've both got Rahul Tewatia and Jofra Archer. And then I've got Yuzvendra Chahal as my leg spinner because I still think, leaving aside, the way the thought process is, I didn't want an off spinner and a leg spinner. I'm going with two leggies in my team. So Yuzvendra Chahal, wily as always, incisive as always. And then I've got, the Mumbai Indians new ball bowlers. Can you imagine a team which has Trent Bolt, Jofra Archer, and Jasprit Bumrah? Your team is not going to be able to score against mine. So I clearly win this one.
Okay, so this is a fantasy team. So I don't want to even think that one is going to be rolled over by the other. So I think we have packed enough quality in both our 11s.
Well, you're just trying to save yourself, but clearly my team is the winning one. uh, in case of my choice for captain, I had two options. I could have gone for either David Warner or Kyron Pollard. I'm going to stick with Pollard because I think he's generally been the better captain. In terms of wicketkeeper, I'm actually going for Ishan Kishan because he's someone who normally keeps. He didn't have to do that job for Mumbai this year, but hey, why not? It's my team, so he's going to keep. That's my 11. So do let us know what your thoughts are on our respective 11s. And as always, there's a bit of a competition happening between the two of us. So, let us know whose team you think will win as well. So that's a wrap on today's episode. We'd like to take this opportunity to wish all our viewers a very happy Diwali. Wish you a safe and prosperous year ahead. And this is not by any means the end of videos that are going to be coming out of this channel. There's still a lot of cricket expected to come up in the next few weeks and months, and we're going to try and endeavor to bring as much of our analysis on those ongoing series as much as possible. So stay tuned, and we'll see you soon. Until then, stay safe.